Hi, this is the Peace Days here. I want to talk a bit about dry red wines because this is my part two on dry wines. I went in a bit about white wines and now it's red wines turn. Now, I'm not a huge fan of red wines, but I do enjoy them when I have them. Now, what you could understand about red wines in general, if you want to get to know your stuff about them, is something called tannin. Now, tannin is a very complex thing. It's a bunch of complex molecules that are contained in the things like the container that the wine is kept in, for example, the oak. It's got to be wood. The stems of the wine, and also, and this is the main thing when it comes to red wines, the pigment of the wine. So you actually have the red color and it gives tannin to the wine. And that's the difference between white and red wines, because there's a lot of skin in the red wines. It comes through and becomes an issue with the red wines. Now, why is it an issue? Now, basically because tannin, even though tannin is not something you can taste or smell, it is something, it's a textural thing. And it comes across as a very dry feeling on the tongue. If you don't like that, it's not going to be pleasant. But also, it tells you about the age of the wine. The more wine ages, the less the tannin is in there. And it's a good indication of whether all the flavours and berries and etc. and all that stuff and the woody flavours have blended together to give a good rounded taste. But the thing is, essentially, when you come down to it, tannin is up to taste. So there are some people who like it and some people don't. Now, you can actually have a period within a wine where it spoils a red wine. But the age of a wine comes to a point where the tannin goes away. And in that small period, you can get a really nice tasting wine. The problem is you've got to wait and all this stuff. But tannin doesn't worry some people because it's very good combined with certain foods like proteins, like meat. So if you have a tannined wine, it doesn't really become an issue. So it's a matter of taste. Now, really, I'm not a big fan of wines in general, red wine, in general, if you watched part one. And it's all got to do with the teeth issue. You can go back and read that if you want. But anyway, I think there's only really one wine that's even worthwhile having. I mean, you can go and have it, you can go around other people's places and they can buy you fancy wines if you want. But this one here will do the trick. It's called Traditional Red Wine. Now, it says, a great accompaniment to red meat dishes, obviously not much, well, a lot of tannin in it, and pasta dishes and pizza. Now, who doesn't like pasta and pizza? So there you go. I mean, it's ideal. And when you actually taste it, or when you do the smell test, like I explained in part one, very rounded flavour. Not bad. And that's the thing about red wines. They're a lot more interesting than white wines. There's a lot more characteristics, and it's way more interesting than white wines. Because the teeth issue is a bit of a worry. But when you look at something like this, it's great. You're not going to have any worries with this. I mean, as far as aftertaste goes, they're well rounded. The aftertaste is quite nice. It's almost like you are having a whiskey or a vodka. You get this nice easing down of warmth through your body with a red wine that you don't get with a white wine. So in many ways, they are superior. So what I want to do then is just have a bit of a swig and a spit. So sorry to all those who are offended by spitting. Yeah, that's good. That will go down real well. I mean, you can taste the tannin in it, or you can get the dryness in it. You're not tasting it, you're just sensing the dryness in it. But I think that's a minor issue overall. It's quite full, nice wine with lots of balance. Now, one thing that I have left out of this series, and I could go into a part 3, but I'm a bit ignorant on the part 3 of this, which is rosés. Now, I don't know much about rosés, but I'll briefly talk about rosés. Essentially, it's a blend of the white and the red. Now, I don't go for that because I feel like, in a way, it's like mixing two different sports. Like you get your, I don't know, your cricket and your basketball, and you put them together and somehow it's meant to be good. They're completely different. It's like, I don't know, it seems wrong to me. But anyway, I'll dabble in it a little bit. Now, I've got my red here. Now what I'm going to do is add my white. Now remember what I said in part 1 about the pouring techniques. Very important. It's got a lot to do with aeration. If you want to know more, go back to part 1. And the angle is very important too. Have you ever seen a barmaid pour a beer at an angle where you know that the head is going to be massive and it's going to overflow and you're going to be ripped off because you're not going to get the same amount of beer as you normally would? Well, this is very important too, the angle, because it's got to do with aeration. So what we do is we pour the white into the red very slowly with the aeration. Make sure you don't drip it. That's a bit embarrassing. There, nice rosé. Okay, now for a bit of a taste test. And I'll give you my opinion after this. Oh. Wow, that wasn't... Nah. Right, no. It's too confusing. It's like the mixing of the sport metaphor. I'm sorry, it just doesn't do it for me. It's like, nah, there's too much going on. I don't get it. No. Anyway, that probably should sum it up as far as I'm concerned. Number 1, if you're going to go for red wines, remember your tannin issue. Number 2, if you're going to go for rosé, well, be it on your own head. I'm not responsible for the results.